Hey, everybody, and welcome to Horner's Corner. Don't know quite why we got the shot of Janine right off the top, but we'll consider that bonus coverage. Janine Sedola from Vancouver Island. Janine, this is week 8 of Horner's Corner. We do this once a week, every Thursday night, 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 o'clock Eastern. So officially, we've reached the 2-month part, and you've been here for most of this journey. So thank you very much. And I need to mute my audio in YouTube. There we go. So how are you doing tonight, Janine?
I'm doing really well. It's been very hot. Canada had its highest temperature in history at 49.5 degrees Celsius. I think it was yesterday.
Wow. We got really hot here too. 3 consecutive days, unlike any other 3 consecutive days I've ever experienced here in Western Washington. Sure, I've been in New Mexico for a part of my life and Arizona, but I grew up here and I've spent a good number of my adult years here as well. But in Western Washington, nothing like the triple digits that we were experiencing along with its associated humidity. So we don't have air conditioning. How about you? Do you have air conditioning at home?
I do not have air conditioning, and this is the first year, and I've lived in this house for over 20 years, 23 years. It's the first year that was unbearable. It did not cool down at night at all.
Well, we're going to talk about the heat specifically as it pertains to wildfires tonight in British Columbia, the Pacific Northwest as a whole, with an emphasis on southern British Columbia, Washington State, and certainly Oregon. And we'll look at the wider West view briefly as well. We have some maps to share with current wildfire activity. Janine, you are, once again, we've mentioned this in the past, but just so people know, this is something where you are tied as a volunteer to emergency services or emergency management. I know that you've got the ham radio and the earthquakes we've talked about in the past, but are you keeping an eye on wildfires quickly as a spectator, or in your emergency volunteer role, does that kick in as well here in terms of your interest regarding wildfires?
Oh, yeah, of course it does. I think the city of Nanaimo's received about $30,000 for emergency preparedness for wildfire in the last little while. I read that in the newspaper, and also we're doing, a lot of practices. What happens in a wildfire is like your power can often go off or your cell phone doesn't work, and we use ham radios to communicate and help the city if in those kinds of situations.
Have you been involved in communications and assisting in getting the word out or in to help the public at large? You mentioned you've been in that house, I think you said, for 23 years, and I know you've been connected to emergency services for a number of years as well.
Yeah, that's right. And no, we don't get the message out. There isn't a lot of funding available for this, but I know that the whole government is looking at changing things. I listened to John Horgan today. He's a premier of British Columbia, and he's talking about maybe getting us into another state of emergency. As of today, the pandemic state of emergency is over, and now we have a fire emergency. It's pretty crucial that we start doing something about climate change.
No argument here. Well, in just a moment, Janine's going to bring up a map on her screen and share it with us. But what I would like to do, just as a quick programming note, going forward with Horner's Corner, as always, you're welcome to join this panel. Panelist is the Zoom terminology. I am using Zoom webinar, but you can be on camera and participate in this conversation on Zoom as a panelist as well. All I ask is that you join us prior to the beginning of the show on that specific evening, whenever you would like to join. And you can do so by going to the link at beyond90seconds.com/live. If you go to beyond90seconds.com/live, you will see a link to register to attend this seminar, or this webinar rather, for free. And then you can follow the steps that quickly make you a panelist. And I would ask that you join us no later than 6:45 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That would be 9:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to do an audio check, make sure that we sound good, make sure that we look good, because we're trying to improve the show each and every week with the way we deliver it. We want to make sure that from an accessibility point of view, we're easily heard, comfortably seen, and that things are hopefully well explained, and that we provide a conversation you can most definitely participate in. Chat is certainly available on YouTube. Beyond 90 Seconds is the YouTube channel. So if you want to watch on YouTube, perhaps you already are. It's youtube.com/beyond 90 seconds. That'll get you to the channel. You can still also join by Zoom and be what's called an attendee in the Zoom parlance. And as an attendee, you're not on camera. We don't hear your voice. So if you like to kind of hang out just off screen, that's cool. And there's a Zoom chat, and we'll be looking for that as well. Tom is in the YouTube chat right now. Tom is on Whidbey Island here in Washington State, and he says, "Happy Canadian Day, Janine." It's Canadian Day. Happy Canadian Day indeed.
Yes, it is Canada Day, Tom. And what's happened here is a lot of cities have canceled Canada Day for today because of the newly found atrocities with the residential schools that have happened here. It's been newly discovered crimes of humanity that the Indigenous people have been telling us about for a long time. And now they've come across, multiple burial grounds without, graves that are around the old residential schools. They figure perhaps, hundreds or thousands of children were, disposed of. It's horrible. So now, instead of doing fireworks tonight in our town like we usually do, or celebrations, they call it like an orange day, where everybody's wearing orange t-shirts and recognizing what's happened. And these residential schools were run a lot by the Catholic churches, and we're really recognizing and acknowledging the atrocities. So it's really sad.
Just a bit more on that. I've seen that story in the headlines in recent days. And in recent years, I have seen stories reported. I don't know, it's probably stronger than the word alleging that these things took place. But you said that these stories have been being told for years. And it seems like what's happened in the past week or so is that not only are they being further substantiated, but the numbers of children that were killed, abused and killed, that those numbers are becoming confirmed and escalating. And so that people know, we're talking about a society that took the Indigenous people, the children, and literally forced them to become civilized, quote unquote, a word I wouldn't agree with, but into the white person's way, if you will. And it seems that what has emerged, and you know the story better than I do, is that these lives were discarded, that they were disposed of. So they weren't just basically forced to try to adapt and fit in, but they were just discarded at times. And what I hear you saying now is that, and what's been in the news lately, is that Canada Day is not being celebrated in the traditional way because there's severe reluctance to want to celebrate a history that includes that chapter, and the timing wouldn't really be good because so much of this is coming forth now in a way that's still really fresh and profound. So why celebrate a history that includes that? Let's give pause and really acknowledge and look into and own that past, and and I don't know if you can ever come to terms with it, but certainly validate it. Have I captured it somewhat accurately?
Yeah, you nailed it for sure. For sure, yeah.
Okay. So with that said, I think, thank you for Tom and Whidbey Island, thank you for bringing up Canada Day. And Janine, thank you for setting the tone and the framework and allowing us to have this opportunity to acknowledge these recent events and the lives that were lost. It sounds hollow to say the lives that were lost because we hear these things, but this really is profound and tragic. And I would, anybody who has an inkling of an interest, Google it, find the news stories, learn more. It's important that this history be acknowledged and absorbed. And we certainly don't want to see things like that ever happen again. So let's turn the page now for this Horner's Corner. Oh, go ahead, Janine, please.
Yes, I'm going to let you show your map because I'm hearing that someone's in my backyard, I think. So I will just take a short break and you can carry on. I'll be right back.
Okay, very good. So we'll bring it back to, if I'm not already on, good, we're on speaker view. Although it looks like you're seeing Janine's picture. So attendee view is follow host view. I'm just messing with the view here. I want to make sure you guys get the proper view here. I'm the one who's speaking, and I'm not sure that you're seeing me. I think you're actually seeing Janine's picture, so I'm not sure why that's happening. It's something that I have to work out in Zoom. So let me just take a look at the YouTube channel real quick, and we'll see what I can do. All right, I think we are on me by what I'm saying right now. Okay, so Janine had mentioned that I can share my map, and indeed I can. So let's get that going. All right. And I don't think, let's see here. And Janine is back, it looks like. Hey, Janine, you're still muted. Are you seeing my map on screen? I think that you are.
I'm seeing your map and it looks very similar to mine, only mine looks worse in British Columbia.
Yeah. All right. So let's take a look at it here. And I believe we are, yeah, we're following we don't see you on camera full screen. Good. In this case. So this is the website fireweatheravalanche.org. That's fireweatheravalanche.org. And we'll take a look at that a bit more so here shortly. So this is Washington State, and we can check out the fires, we can tap on them, but I'm just going to tell you right off the top, unless there's been something in the last 5 or 6 hours, there's no significant, threatening fire on the scale of some of the surrounding states and in nearby Canada that's happening in those places. That's not quite, to my knowledge, yet happening in Washington State. If I go toward the eastern part of the state, I can touch on one of these here. And this will take a minute. For some reason, the first time it loads fire information about a specific fire, it takes long. But after that, when I tap on the others, it goes very quickly. So bear with me here, but I'll just kind of give you an idea for how this map works. And I've been checking, and we'll do that. We'll do it in just a moment. We'll look at fires just south of the Washington border in northern Oregon. And we'll get a we'll see much larger numbers there. And then we're going to hear about what's going on in British Columbia too, because overnight between yesterday and today, there was a significant development in British Columbia, and Janine will tell us about that. So yeah, again, the first time retrieving, it seems like it's been at least 30 seconds now, which is interesting. Okay, but we finally got the information. So this is the Lytton Fire, and I'm using my iPad to display this. And it's the Lytton Fire reported by Central Washington Interagency Center. So this was first reported 4 days ago, this fire. This information was updated 9 minutes ago. And this is just an example of how the functionality of this website works, providing fire information. It's 2,100 acres, and the location is 30.8 miles east-northeast of Othello, Washington. And here, what's right below that information, where we see current weather and fire growth potential. That's what I'm really keyed in on. So I see 94 degrees Fahrenheit. That's a high number. Humidity. And we don't like low numbers when it comes to humidity because that means it's drier. It's just 17%. And there is a bit of a breeze at 5 miles per hour. And so the fire growth potential, where you see the colors, it ranges from minimal low to moderate to high extreme. It's in the moderate phase. So the potential for fire growth is moderate right now. So this is one definitely to keep an eye on. Doesn't say anything about that I can see about any of the nearby, how close is the closest population center, things like that. But this is a good place to start to get information. So I'm going to X out of that. And if I go down to, let's say, Northern Oregon, it gets very interesting here. So we can actually see some marks here. Okay, see how that loaded right away when I tapped onto it? So this is the S503 fire, or probably called the S503, although it's a 0 in the typical jargon. The size is over 6,600 acres. It's 52 miles east-southeast of Gresham, Oregon. Now, this was first reported a week ago. It has not been updated for 6 days, so I don't know whether or not there, I would think if there was something really urgent about this, it would have been updated just recently, not just 6 days ago for its most recent update. So that's a sizable fire, though, compared to what we just saw in Washington State. But there are so many fires, and I spent time reporting in the southwestern U.S. in both Arizona and New Mexico. And one of the things I learned, especially in New Mexico, is just how many fires are naturally occurring every year. Hundreds of fires are lightning caused, and we never really hear much about them in most cases. But yeah, here's another situation in Oregon. And oh, that's the same one. I'm sorry. I guess I meant to hit this one. And boy, I tell you what, we could talk about controlled burns and whether that's a bad thing or a good thing. I happen to think that well-managed controlled burns are a healthy thing, because fire was a part of the natural ecosystem, the way that before mankind started interfering in a profound way, all that undergrowth got cleared out. Now it's just stuffed fuel. So then we build up against these areas that are just tinder boxes. Okay, so here's the Wrentham Market Fire, 10,000 acre fire, reported 2 days ago. This was updated 19 minutes ago. 10,000 acres, 67.1 miles east of Gresham, Oregon, with a moderate growth potential. Temperature 76 degrees, so not quite as hot as an earlier Oregon fire that we looked at. And the humidity is higher. It's 47% with a 4 mile per hour wind. So, Janine, it is early. And before I hand it over to you, the fire season, typically it works in the West where, we see it developing. I'm zoomed out to show much of the US here. And you can see there's all sorts of activity across the US. But if we look at the Southwest, our fire season in the West typically begins down in that area: New Mexico, Arizona, Colorado, Utah, sweeps into California and up California. And certainly, just north of Redding, I know there was a fire that broke out just recently, but there are other fires in Northern California as well that are a concern. And that area has been a tinderbox in recent years. We know that. We know communities have been removed from the face of the earth due to fire in recent years in Northern California for certain. Again, though, it's very dry in Washington, especially considering our heat wave that we just experienced. Fortunately, it's cooled down a little bit for most of us. But already north of us, and this map doesn't show it, already north of us, I want to get over to here, the action's picking up in British Columbia. So Janine, if you wouldn't mind, share the map that you have and give us a headline or two about what's happening in British Columbia right now.
Well, Mark, we've had 29,000 lightning strikes in the last 24 hours, 62 new fires. And if you look on here, our map is loaded, especially in the Lytton area here. And last night, a train went through Lytton and apparently created a spark, and the whole town went from a puff of smoke to completely flattened. The people, the whole place was on fire within 15 minutes. So those people only had 15 minutes to pack up and go, and they had an evacuation order. Now all of the houses are gone. 90% of the town's wiped out, and it's absolutely devastating. It was 49.5 degrees Celsius, which is 121 degrees Fahrenheit for the days beforehand. It's wiped out, Mark.
Oh my, I'm gonna have to check out the stories. I haven't seen any pictures or video yet. You mentioned this in our pre-show meeting a bit earlier this evening. Now, please tell us the name of the town again.
It's called Lytton, and it's a small town, beautiful, kind of a heritage town. And it's gone. It's wiped off the earth right now. All those people lost everything. And one poor couple, they had to dive in. There was apparently a gully or something in their yard or pit. And so they jumped in there when their house was on fire and trying to survive. And what happened was the hydro pole it exploded and landed on them. So definitely 2 people passed away. And it's, we don't even know if everybody got out or not, because everybody went different directions. And the Telus and the hydro stations were also burnt. So people didn't even have cell service or anything. It's very, very sad.
So that is Lytton. And was the fire given a different name? I seem to remember an unusual name attached to a fire, something that a town I hadn't heard of before began. In fact, we talked about it earlier. I know.
Oh.
Do you remember the name of it? Can you zoom in on that map?
Lillooet?
Yes.
Oh yeah, Lillooet. Yeah, Lillooet. That's
now, is that different than, is that the name of the fire in Lytton, or is Lytton?
I thought it was Lytton.
Okay.
Or it could be. Yeah, now I'll just Google that, and if you stand by, I'll make sure I've got it right. And then don't want to set anybody astray here, but go ahead, Mark.
Sure. I think what I'll do, Janine, give me a second here. I'm going to share, come back to me for just a moment. And I'm going to share a web page if I can get to it. Oh, you know what? Nope, I'm not going to do that. Could you just stop sharing for just a moment, Janine, if you don't mind? Did you stop sharing?
Sure, I'll do that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'll do that right now. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. And then what I'll do is I'll change our view. Oh, good. We're in speaker view. And I think if I do this, there we go. So this is a website. I just Googled really quickly the Lytton Fire. And this is the BBC. And I know when I move my head away from I have this iPad that's off to my right, which unfortunately makes my mouth drift away from my microphone. So I'm bringing the iPad over so that I can read it just a little bit and give you this information. I don't feel comfortable playing the video because it's copyrighted material, but a wildfire has burned 90% of the village that recorded Canada's highest ever temperature, the local MP says. Brad Viss, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, V-I-S, said the fire had caused extensive damage to Lytton in British Columbia and to surrounding critical infrastructure. Jan Polderman, mayor of Lytton, told the BBC he had been lucky, quote, lucky to get out with my own life, end quote. There won't be very much left of Lytton. There was fire everywhere. Mr. Polderman told the BBC's NewsHour program his town was engulfed by a wall of fire, quote unquote. He had earlier ordered people to evacuate, saying flames had spread through the village in just 15 minutes. That's what you were telling us, Janine. The village this week recorded the country's highest ever temperature of 49.6 degrees Celsius, which is 121.3 degrees Fahrenheit. Wow. Now that is a shocker. That is incredible. In British Columbia, in late June, abnormally high temperatures have been recorded in swaths of North America. British Columbia and Western Canada recorded 486 deaths over 5 days, compared with an average of 165 in normal times. Chief Coroner Lisa Lapointe blamed the extreme weather. The Western province has seen only three heat-related, the Western province had seen only 3 heat-related deaths over the past 3 to 5 years. Many of those who died, Ms. Lapointe said, have been living alone in unventilated homes. Temperatures have been easing in coastal areas of Canada, but there is not much respite for inland regions, which, stepping away from this for just a moment. Christian Sasse is in the YouTube chat. He says, yes, I am in the middle of this temperature. So Christian is over at Lake Okanagan, which is south central British Columbia. If you're familiar with Central Oregon, Central Washington State, heck, if you're familiar with parts of New Mexico and Arizona, you know about the Sonoran Desert. And the Sonoran Desert extends from the southwestern United States all the way up into the Pacific Northwest, not in the green tree-lined areas of Portland and Seattle, but in the central part of the state, just east of the Cascade Mountains, the mountains that provide a rain shadow. And so that desert extends right up through the Pacific Northwest and into southern British Columbia. Christian Sasse is very much in that area, in Lake Okanagan at his second home, where I know the fires are very much on his mind. I reached out to Christian with an email, just sharing an article about one of the fires that we're talking about tonight. And he told me, yes, we're aware of it. We are concerned. And Christian, if you would like to join us, I don't know whether or not it's convenient. You're more than welcome to. I sent you an email. You can click the link. I'll see you come in as a Zoom attendee, and we can bring you in as a panelist, and would love to hear your thoughts. If you're not comfortable doing so right now, spur of the moment, Christian, heck, for all I know, you may be a passenger in your car as Rosanna drives. I don't know, but you're more than welcome to join if you'd like to do so. So yeah, that is the BBC's coverage. So it's making world news, and it's obviously an extremely serious situation. Historically speaking, in recent history, Washington State, British Columbia, smoke-filled skies, sun disappearing before sunset. That term new normal gets used in a few very distinct ways lately, and it feels like smoke-filled skies are part of what you might call a new normal. Christian saying it's extremely dry, and Christine is asking in the chat, or saying, asking Christian, are you and your family able to stay comfortable and safe? Boy, I'd love to have Christian on if he could join us. So yeah, Christian has to do a drive. I looked at his highway that he would normally take, and where these significant 2 fires or fire is happening in British Columbia, that seems to be a few miles yet north of the east-west highway Christian would take, along with Rosanna, his wife, to get back to the Vancouver area. Air quality, no doubt, is being impacted. And I'm just checking because I'm hearing somebody in the background. Janine, are you playing a video? That's very interesting because I'm hearing audio come in from somewhere. But Janine, any more thoughts on what's going on in British Columbia or what we're talking about at the moment? You know what? Wait just a second. Hold on. Guess what? Our friend Christian is jumping on board. So let's make sure that he's a panelist.
He's on, Mark. I can see him.
Oh, you can see him?
I can see him.
Hi, Mark. I don't know if you can hear me.
Oh, there you are, Christian. Yes, let's go to gallery view. Thank you, my friend.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, Christian, we can hear you.
Okay, I apologize. The audio feedback came from me because I was listening to you in parallel, and I just switched it off. So it's great.
How are you doing?
Very well, thank you. I'm just looking at the weather actually outside at the window here in the Okanagan, and it's very humid. It's gosh, yeah, it's crazy weather. What can I say? It's absurd, right?
Yeah, we had this dome of high pressure, that was sitting over the Pacific Northwest and
Yes.
southern British Columbia, and clouds were even approaching, but they just couldn't penetrate. They couldn't drift in. And finally, after 3 or 4 days, it started to, break down a bit. And I noticed, for example, yesterday we experienced relief, but you were still expressing that it was still very hot as of yesterday. What's it like where you're at right now? And what was it like yesterday?
Okay, the temperature at the moment, what's the time? It's so 7:30 p.m. in the evening. It's still 33 degrees Celsius. I'm sorry, I have to transfer this into Fahrenheit for most people. I always forget. So 1 sec, I have to.
I should be doing it ourselves.
But I won't call Siri at the moment. But it's it's about 4 degrees below body temperature. So it's cooled down a lot. At the same time, we had a very scary weather development last night. You may have. I'm sorry, I don't know what you've already covered, but maybe Janine has already covered this. That the small town of Lytton was completely eradicated after it reached the maximum temperatures, which is absolutely awful. And that place is actually not very far from where we are. It's close to Merritt. And if you typically drive from Vancouver eastwards towards the Okanagan, where it gets so dry, that's the region that you would pass. And as you correctly said, I'm here. I'm actually looking straight out at the Okanagan Lake. I'm located between West Kelowna and Vernon. So the Okanagan Lake is north-south, and I'm on the west side of that, sort of right between these two places. And so, yes, it's cooled down quite a lot, but I see quite heavy clouds still developing, and we have to wait what the next hours will bring, because there have been some so-called pyro-convective clouds developing, which is quite scary. That's also what seems to have caused the Lytton fire. Those are sort of, once you get a fire going from a lightning strike, you get a convective chimney evolving from that, and that gives rise to more air circulation, which sort of is like a positive feedback system, and it's quite, it's very frightening, right?
It is, Christian. I can relate to this because back in I covered some fires as a reporter, and in Los Alamos, New Mexico, back in the year 2000, I was there when, just as you described, pyro-convective, the fire creates its own weather. And I was near this massive plume, and I looked into the sky. Literally, I was behind the lines where most people weren't supposed to be, let's put it that way. National Guard and Bureau of Indian Affairs, tribal police blocking off areas. And looking up at this plume that was approaching, you could see not only the swirling smoke, but you could see fire. It was like a fire tornado.
Yes,
so
that's correct. Tornado is the conventional term for pyro-convective. That's correct. Yes,
right.
That's it.
Right, and then when you get these associated winds and this weather and this energy, and you have these large embers, you have trees that are crowning, which means these 100-foot trees, they just explode. And these embers that result and are stirring in this mix of volatile weather, every one of those embers is a potential source of ignition for an outlying area.
Yes.
So it is very much, even though the temperatures come down, the threat is very much there, not only because it's dry, but because of all these factors that become involved.
Yeah, and it's gosh, there's so much to say about this subject. I apologize. I don't know what Janine and you have been talking about. I'm sure you have already covered quite a lot, but there's a lot of questions here of course how to handle such things. I mean, we know from these pyro-convective streams that it's possible for fire to jump incredible distances in a very short time. That's what happened in Lytton, which was absolutely awful and devastating for this little town. And of course, I must be honest, I was really worried last night when I was looking at the weather forecast from some experts, and I saw these, the same clouds predicted to develop here, on Canada Day, which we're celebrating today. And I'm still looking outwards, outside, and so far we're just lucky that this hasn't, so far it seems to be milder than what has been predicted. At the same time, the amount of lightning strikes that are happening every minute now somewhere in British Columbia is extremely high. And it's only the 1st of July. I'm sure you mentioned that, and we have a whole summer ahead, right? So it's very worrying. And the other thing, of course, is the deforestation, because there are a lot of people who believe that when you deforest or you thin out forest, that it actually helps. It's not, doesn't seem to be the case. If you talk to some physicists about this, who are fire or pyro experts, it seems to actually do exactly the opposite. It enhances the convection in the convective streams, because the forest is no more a block. So it actually is it's like building a loose how should I say, a loose pile of wood, where you're actually enhancing the whole thing, right? So there's a lot of science that needs to be corrected in this. And yeah.
Christian, okay, first of all, just to catch up to speed, we talked about the Lytton Fire, but I love what you're bringing to the table. We showed an article from the BBC. We didn't play the embedded video of the fire because I thought of copyright. I didn't want to risk that. But I read a BBC article. Janine showed us on a map where the fire is located. We were talking about you, and I'm glad we caught your ear. I'm so thankful that you joined us. And so now that you're kind of caught up.
My pleasure, really.
Yeah, thank you. And Janine was showing this wonderful map highlighting fires throughout British Columbia. I showed a map showing the Western US and the fires that are located here. And by the way, Christine H in the YouTube chat says, great to see you, Christian. And then she follows up just now. It is devastating for people and animals, both pets and wildlife.
Yes.
But I can't let this point that you just brought up, because it's so curious to me, and it's so counter everything I've been told is the opposite over the years. You're saying that controlled burns may be bad because we're actually just creating pockets of loose timber where the convection and the fires can move more easily. But history tells us that before mankind emerged on the scene, that fires naturally and historically occurred and thinned the forest, and that was the healthy way for forests to exist. So you've given me pause. You've certainly given me something to think about.
Yeah, I mean, there's of course a difference. Look, I'm not an expert, but my understanding, Mark, is that there are two different things here. The one is these natural fires, which you're talking about, that thins out everything and seems to malden down the possibilities, right? But what I'm talking about is thinning out the forest. Just deforestation of taking out bits and pieces here, which many believe is much better because, well, the probability of lightning strike decreases. That is absolute nonsense, because lightning will always strike at any highest points it can find. So it's got nothing to do with that. And what I'm saying is that once a tree ignites from lightning, where the probability is extremely high, the drier it is, then it's more likely to quickly pick up convective currents, air currents, when the forest is thinned out, right? That's what I'm saying, So.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you for further clarifying and amplifying. Christian, I don't know if it's convenient given where how you're situated with your setup right now, but people who follow you, and a lot of people follow you on social media because of your bald eagle wildlife photography, and also because you're a physicist and an astronomer, and you do some incredible live streams of wildlife and the night sky, especially the moon. People are used to seeing you in a lush Vancouver metropolitan area with lots of trees, and it rains, but where you're sitting right now, that's not what it looks like. You are in the Okanagan area, the upper Sonoran Desert.
Yes, correct.
Are you able to show a view out your window as to what it might look like?
I have to really turn my laptop. I apologize. I would have said,
oh, no, I did.
I
you
really
had no notice.
But I will try, Mark. I will try my best. Okay, 1 second. I'm going to carefully turn my laptop. And I cannot see what you're seeing. You're
pulling it off. You're pulling it off.
What do you see? I don't know what you see.
Yeah, it's a little overexposed, but we can't make it up because of the bright light. But
what a pity.
Rest assured, folks, there's a large lake surrounded by desert-like hills on either side. It's desert scrub, and when you do go up into the hills, though, you do get some trees.
Yes.
But where Christian is situated, it's it's desert, right, Christian?
Well, you could describe that. I mean, we have, I think, let me recollect, I think 10 to 12 inches of rain per year. So it's very low. I think this year will be much lower than last year, where on Canada Day, there was a lot of rain. And this year is the absolute record, right? So we're going from one extreme to the next. You know, the other thing that is the whole situation in Lytton now has is bringing in a discussion is, how do you actually protect your homes in the best way, if at all? You know, what can you do? And again, I think locally, what the best you can do is to actually wetten your roof, as contradictory as it may seem. But if everyone would be able to, you know, to just sprinkle their roofs, and maybe that's a new type of thing. What we can prevent that way is, what's so dangerous is, through these convective currents, you get sort of hot pieces of wood or so that can land somewhere and just ignite fire, because they are so extremely hot and they are so convective. At least if everyone were able to do that, the probability would go down. Now, if there is a fire, that a lightning strike that happens right next to you, and you have burning you know, trees next to you, there's nothing I think you can do anyway. But I think at least that type of you know, that would reduce at least some risk, as far as I know. These are the things we're discussing at the moment.
Gotcha. So, Christian, I'm going to share something. I'm hoping that you can see the map. Is it?
Yes, I can. I can.
Okay.
Yes, thanks, Mark. I can.
Yeah, you bet. So I'm looking at British Columbia. This is a similar map, actually the same map, I think, that Janine was sharing earlier. I'll go ahead and zoom in. And so
yes, that's correct.
You're basically near the left or west side of this bridge.
That's completely correct. So that's the bridge to Kelowna. If you go north now, so if you go north a bit more, it's somewhere, let's see where, gosh, that is, if you go right up to where the lake stopped, Vernon, that's quite, gosh, it's very difficult for me to see this, Mark.
I'm sorry, I may have gone too far.
No. It's somewhere, it's between Vernon and West Kelowna. That's approximately where I'm. Whereby West Kelowna is not crossing the bridge, and Vernon is north, where the lake ends, basically. That's where we are. Yeah, just go on north, please. That's it, Mark. That's it. Go on. And there should be Vernon coming up. Yeah, somewhere there. Oops. Let's zoom out a bit. We should be able to see Vernon. Yeah, that's correct. There, I thought there was. Goodness me, now you're zooming in again. But it's right. You drive up north, and we are on the west side, in between there, right? That's where we are, right?
Okay, very good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so how much concern when you live in an area like you're at right now? Is there concern about fire even approaching, even because you're near the edge of the lake where there's not as much forest
absolutely
just above you? But is there concern about fire danger where exactly in that town where you're at right now, or does it feel like something that happens up in higher ground?
No, it's very serious. And I've talked to, I mean, since we moved here to our summer house, I've been talking to a lot of residents, and Mark, they see lightning hitting on the east side. They've seen that, and fire, you know, right in front of their eyes. They can see fire being created. It is worrying, you know. And I thought we would probably be seeing something like that today, the way the weather was, you know, predicted to evolve. But fortunately, that has not been the case. But I think we're going to see such things in summer with a very high probability now. So, yeah.
For you getting back to the Vancouver area, how much concern is there about your drive back?
Wow, there's so many good questions. That's so many good questions. You know, how do you prepare yourself for an evacuation? That's I didn't even dream of that until last night. We were starting to discuss that. How do we evacuate in a case? What do you take along? Of course, we take our animals along, you know, and anybody in the house. And you don't have many choices along the lake. You either drive north or you drive south, right? What do you do? I don't know really. You can, as long as you can get out of the way, it's fine, and just hope for the best, really, that there's no accident on the road or whatever, right? So.
Right. Well, this is an opportune time to bring Janine back in. Janine, we touched a bit earlier on, preparedness. What would you say to people who are listening in terms of sound advice when it comes to forest fire dangers?
Know your way out of your subdivision. Make sure your car is filled with gas and pointed out. So you back into your driveway so you're ready to go. You have water in there, and you have a grab and go bag with your computer and your computer plug, and make sure you have something in your car to charge up your phone. But you have to realize that in a smoky situation, you cannot get cell reception. So that's where the ham radio comes in, and I have one of those for sure. But Christian, when we were talking before you got on, I was telling Mark that Premier John Horgan was talking about the fire today, and he pretty well thinks that it was a train that went through that created a spark, because they had such high temperatures before. And I guess that's why the whole town went on fire. There was sparks that took off, and they had to get out within 15 minutes. So if you smell smoke, like, don't dilly-dally. You have to leave like right now, and know your way out. I wouldn't get on the main highway because people get jammed, and then they run out of gas and they panic, and people abandon their cars and run into the fire. You can't do that. Go the low route. You want to be in the valley, not high up, because if possible, I mean, you have to play it in. And oftentimes, if you end up out of your car, you will see animals scurrying into the bush. And that, if you follow them, they know instinctively how to get out of a fire, and you can follow them, but it's not likely that, I mean, if you were hiking or something and you saw, the deer running by, you might want to follow them because they know where to go.
That's very good advice. Excellent, Janine. I completely agree. I think you brought the thing up with the ham radio, which I didn't think of. I think that's a great point, because your cell reception will go down. I actually know a firefighter from Redding, California, where it wasn't last year but the year before, where they had such horrible fires. And I interviewed him, and what they've gone through is pure hell. I mean, this is how I imagine hell. It's unbelievable, right? So I completely agree what you said with the car, to be prepared, also to have lots of water to have a full tank. That's exactly what we did. Everything is completely correct. The thing that worries me here in the Okanagan is because of it being a glacier lake, there is only one road. That's it. There's only one road. You don't have a choice. So that's I don't have an answer to that.
Yeah, there is only one road in and out where I live too. However, there's little side roads that, subdivisions, and if you can find your way there, there's a shortcut, and you're going to avoid the big traffic jam on that main road. So if you get yourself a good map and you memorize how to get out, I can pretty well go for miles on the back subdivision roads and still end up on the other major highways. So that's kind of what I was suggesting you do. Yeah,
absolutely. If you have that possibility. I remember being on Vancouver Island, and actually there was a road accident there, and we did exactly that. We went through the forest and all that. So you're absolutely right. If you have that possibility, you should definitely do exactly what you said. Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, and take a map too, because if it's smoky and your cell reception is out, you can't even find your way out with your navigation system.
No, that's true. That's true. Yep.
All right, you guys, I want to share something with you. Let me put it back in speaker view here. Here we go. And then I'll use Christian and our favorite new toy, which is an A10 Mini. Um,
Okay.
in
Yeah,
theory,
here we go. Here we go.
in theory anyway, which allows me to switch over to my iPad. So
Mhm.
yeah, I just wanted to bring up another article in case it provokes any thoughts or get your reaction. So this is the CTV out of British Columbia,
Yes.
bc.ctvnews.ca.
Yes.
The headline is "Scientists warn extreme
Yes.
heat wave that preceded Lytton
Yeah.
Fire may not be isolated event." And to me,
Mhm.
that headline is not shocking. It's like, that's not a surprise at all. Unfortunately, I wish it was. Vancouver, in the days leading up to the devastating fire in Lytton, temperatures in the village repeatedly shattered Canadian records during an extreme heat wave gripping the province, which also saw a sharp rise in sudden deaths in BC. Now, university professors following the impacts of climate change say this kind of intense period of heat will likely not be an isolated event, and more action needs to be taken now. I want to stop right there. Somebody was telling me a few days ago that what we experienced here for 3 days in Washington State, anyway, they were contending was believed to be once in a 6,000 year event. And when I heard that, I thought, well, it's not going to be another 6,000 years before we have something like this happen again, because unfortunately, this is unfortunately trending. This is climate change.
Yeah.
Anyhow, I just thought that I'd share that with you. And Christian, you're a scientist.
Yeah.
I imagine you see
Mhm.
more of the same, unfortunately, in the future.
Well, we are in. I mean, first of all, the question is that many have is climate change real? It's absolutely real, and that it is a human driven event is also, you know, way beyond doubt now. That's not the question. The question that people have is, how bad is it? Are we going to see by 2100 an increase in the average temperature by 3 degrees or 6 degrees? Whatever the truth may be, it's going to be a horrendous increase, right? So many people who doubt the climate change models, there's no doubt upon, you know, if you look at all these models, that we are going to see a drastic increase in these temperatures, right? So the second point is, even if we stop the burning of all fossil fuels, which we should anyway, and Canada is doing the right steps now in this, I'll get to that in a moment, it doesn't mean that this temperature increase is going to stop. On the contrary, because it's got a certain inertia, it'll take some time and I can't tell you how many years it is, but it's going to continue for quite some time until we see certain effects, you know, and some stabilization of the temperature rise to the increase of greenhouse gases. That's another point. So that must shock many people. As far as climate action is concerned, it's very important. I mean, Canada is doing some steps now. They are going over to electric vehicles. We have to decrease the burning of coals. We also have to, you know, in general, decrease our consumptions in fossil fuels, burning of fossil fuels. That's really important. British Columbia, fortunately, is where we are. Is most electricity is from hydropower, right? So that's pure luck, I would say. But at the same time, there's going to be we're going to see a tremendous change now, which is good, positive, in going over to electric cars, right? So I think if I understand correct, the new ambitions are already within the next 5 years to change the policy in a way that no more petroleum fueled cars or combustion engines will be on the street. So we'll see a major change there to electric cars, which I completely support, right? So that shows how serious the situation is, and we hope that this is going to be a global, you know, that it's going to be a global it's a consortium that's going to work that way. Otherwise, I don't see much hope. I mean, we have a big responsibility towards our planets. Janine mentioned it also, you know, to wildlife and so on. And if we want to do conservation of that, we have to start very soon. Okay.
Very well said.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of meat on the bone there, and there can be, there should be subsequent conversations, perhaps in future live streams that we all do, where we can touch on some of this, because there's a lot of meat on the bone. And I would love to get more people into a discussion like this and really thinking about what really is happening on this planet, our role in it, and also to continue to talk about preparedness, because on the issue of preparedness, even once that's been addressed, and people oftentimes don't buy into it, I've been there, and I showed footage of a fire last week where these two guys were on a rooftop with trees exploding across the street, major fire, homes being destroyed all the way around them, and these two young guys on a roof with a garden hose trying to protect their home. So your life isn't worth it, guys. Christine in the YouTube chat, my advice, she says, is have your bags packed and ahead of time and pet carriers ready to go. She adds, have your cars gassed up, packed and ready to go. And if most countries stop using fossil fuels, we still have the problem of what India is doing. Okay, so yeah, there definitely needs to be some international cooperation from many countries on this issue. I want to switch my camera over and share with you this. We've referred to a couple of maps a few times throughout this live stream tonight. The one that I was referring to is fireweatheravalanche.org. That'll show you the Western US, in fact, all of the United States. You can zoom in. I was pinching and zooming as we demoed it on my iPad, and you can tap on icons to get the latest information, when the fire was reported, how long since the latest information was posted. We were getting it within minutes in some cases. And the risk of considering the weather at that moment at that fire, of it expanding from moderate to I think it was extreme, something along that line. Meantime, Janine, and we were referencing it too regarding Christian's location, that was a map that can be found on this website, the second one mentioned here, which is www.gov.bc.ca. And if you go to that and you're on a mobile device, you'll probably see a button for the mobile app above the fold, like near the top of the homepage. If you're on a desktop, I noticed I didn't see that button. So I just put wildfire map into the search on that website, and bingo, bango, bongo, there it was as a high ranking search result. I can click on the map and there it was. So you can see these maps. You can keep up on the situation with these fires and check current conditions in case you would like to have those resources available to you. So I want to take a moment here as we kind of wind down, because we've been on for about an hour. I'm happy to go longer, but I want to be respectful of your time. But final thoughts, Janine, I'll begin with you.
Well, I think everybody should be emergency prepared. And I think we're going to have to start looking at different food source ideas and start thinking about the planet, because we won't have enough food. It's going to get really expensive, and California is running out of water, and these fires make it impossible for people to pick fruit, and all of our fruit comes from that area. And what do you think, Christian?
Well, Janine, you're absolutely right. I mean, this is going to be a global effort. I've lived in so many countries, right? And you're talking about California right now, and of course, you know, you're right. We're very dependent on the US, and this is absolutely correct, because we can only look south. We can't look north. As Canadian, that's completely correct. And it's only going to work with if we have a global effort, you know. And it's 1 minute to 12, in my opinion. You know, if it hasn't ticked 12 yet. Gosh, I just really think the most important is to take everything serious, to watch everything we do, you know, and just take care. You know, whether it's the conservation of wildlife and so on. You know, I just wanted to go out, for example, and just show how the ospreys, you know, because I'm very attached to wildlife and so on. I wanted to show here how the ospreys are coping. You won't believe it. It was so warm, Janine, I could not do a broadcast because my iPhone wouldn't work. That's crazy, right? That's another thing. It's so you were talking about the ham radio, but another thing is just temperature. If the temperature is so hot, your equipment won't work. That's it. So these things are serious considerations, right? So we absolutely have to do something.
Christian, I saw that just a day or two ago. You were going live on the platform HAPS, and you were trying to fry an egg in a pan outdoors to illustrate the extreme heat. And I think about 7 minutes in or so, you went dark and you came back and you followed up, and the subsequent live stream, I think, or remark to say that your iPhone fried, not more so than the egg, perhaps.
Yes, and Mark, this shows me that even I, who thought I thought I was doing, didn't have a clue, right? So I'm not. It was such a shock to me that I said, "Oh my goodness, if something really goes wrong, there are so many factors that I don't understand." You know, that I've went through this whole thing with big thoughts. I thought, I'm going to show this with the egg. I'm going to do all that, and what didn't work was the thing that I never even considered. I know, of course, many said, well, if you have an iPhone in a car, it heats up. It's like a greenhouse. I understand all that, but just coming out very quickly and having my iPhone overheat in 5 minutes, I never anticipated that, right? So.
Yeah, that's a great illustration. And I also very much appreciated a comment that you said a few minutes ago that in a single sentence kind of nailed it. I think you said it's 1 minute before midnight or before 12 as far as I'm concerned. So I don't think that was extreme. I think the weather is extreme. I think the situation's extreme. Everything needs our full attention. So my final thought is I love this type of discussion. Janine, thank you for working with me, being diligent and showing up early this evening and doing checks and working through Zoom so we better understand it, so we can hopefully provide a smoother broadcast experience for the people who are viewing this and perhaps just even listening to it. Really appreciate you going the extra mile with your working on your background, your headphones, the light that you're using, the camera placement. Absolutely love it. Christian, your audio sounds great. Your background looks fine. And you did all that in haste because you had no heads up really that I'd be doing this. And you significantly added to this conversation. So thank you both very much.
Absolute pleasure, really. And wonderful to have Janine here too. Thank you. And thank you for all the comments that came in.
Yeah, absolutely. We very much appreciate the comments from folks who are watching on YouTube. We have Tom on Whidbey Island, Christine H. Mark Beamish is standing by. He's letting me know in the chat that he's got his new microphone. I'm going to work with him after this live stream in case he just likes some feedback on setting up his microphone. You're most welcome. Christine, she says, thank you, Mark, Janine, and Christian. And by the way, check out Christian's social media, especially on Facebook and Instagram. He is Sasse Photo, and his last name is Sasse or Sasse, German. It's S as in Sam, A-S-S-E, Photo, P-H-O-T-O. So Sasse Photo. All right, folks. Christian and Janine, if you don't mind, if you'd like to go now, you're more than welcome. If you want to hang around for just 2 more minutes for a quick conversation in the post-show, we can do that. To everybody else, thank you so much for watching. I really, really appreciate it. I'm going to mute my mic and hopefully throw up a graphic correctly, and we'll end this YouTube live stream. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.